another pattern and tutorial for you. This one, I don't know why I didn't put out sooner because I've literally had this pattern for years at this point, but it's for this fun little crew neck, which I actually made for my shop in 2021, but I made it as like a turtleneck kind of sweatshirt. So if you extend the collar on this, make it a little bit higher, it'll give you the same effect, but I figured I would make it into an actual crew neck because I think that's more wearable for most people. But I wear the sweatshirts that I made a couple years ago all the time because they're so comfy and just like a really great staple in my own closet. And it's also a really easy sewing project and a great one for beginners, so I figured that this would be a fun one to have. For anybody who is newer to the sewing world, this one's great. I do recommend using a serger if you have one because it just looks nicer and it's easier and faster, but if you don't, you can also use an actual sewing machine. Make sure to switch it to a stretch needle, and then also you can use a zigzag stitch to kind of imitate what a serger would do. As always, the pattern is going to be linked down below for you guys to check out. It is available on my website as well as on Etsy. And if you use my pattern, please send me pictures, DM me on Instagram. I would love to hear your thoughts. For reference, I am wearing the extra small. It is obviously an oversized crew neck, so it's nothing too crazy, but I'm a 5'2", usually extra small kind of gal. So if you want that for sizing reference, here we are. That being said, let's get into it. So to start off, you're gonna wanna print out your pattern and get it all taped up together. You should have 6 pieces, including 1 front, 1 back, the sleeve and cuff, as well as the neckband and the waistband. As for fabric, I think it's kind of a given with sweatshirts that you're gonna wanna use fleece or something of the sort. You absolutely need to use some sort of stretch knit material. It will not work on a woven, and I just don't think it would get the same effect anyway. I have a white fleece fabric. This one's actually pretty thin. I really like it for sweatshirt material. It's nice and stretchy, which we love. And then for the ribbing, you can kind of have fun with it. You can technically use the same kind of like fleece sweatshirt material for like the ribbing and the finishes, but obviously most sweatshirts tend to use something different, a nice contrast. I'm gonna be using this black ribbed fabric just so you guys can also kind of see it better as I'm doing the tutorial. Any sort of like ribbed knit is usually what most sweatshirts use and what works best, but again, kind of like any sort of stretch will work. So that being said, let's get everything cut out so we can start sewing.
First thing you're gonna do is put together the shoulder seams of the front and back pieces. So I'm gonna go ahead and clip these together, not actually pin. I find that clipping is more fun with knit fabrics. And we're just gonna go ahead and serge that. If you don't have a serger, you can also just machine sew it, but I recommend using a serger if you have one. Then we're gonna attach the sleeves. I like to start by attaching the center of the sleeve to the shoulder seam and then kind of working my way out from there. Make sure you have the sleeve on properly, the front to the front, the back to the back, and then go ahead and serge that or sew that up together. This is what your sweatshirt should look like, and now we're gonna fold it in half so that we can put together the side seam. So just make sure to align the seam of the sleeve on both the front and the back, and then kind of pin everything else up. And we're gonna go ahead and serge that or sew that all the way up to finally have a completed body of the sweatshirt. Now we're gonna take our 2 cuff pieces and fold them in half and sew up the side seam so that we can start finishing up these sleeves. Next, take your cuff pieces and fold them in half, wrong sides together so that the right side is out on both sides, and then take the seam and line it up to the seam of the sleeve, and then the rest you just have to stretch out and work it in. I like to try to make sure that it is as evenly spaced as possible, so I'll mark the halfway point of the sleeve and the halfway point of the cuff and kind of work that together, and then we're gonna go ahead and serge those. Again, you're gonna have to kind of stretch as you go for it to fit because obviously the cuff is smaller than the sleeve, but that is purposeful so that we get that cinched effect. Next, we're gonna go ahead and finish off the collar. So it's gonna be kind of the same concept as the cuff. We're gonna fold the piece together, sew up that seam, and then you're gonna mark the center back of the sweatshirt and mark that with the seam of your collar that you just created. And then the rest of it, you kind of just work it all around. You have to stretch it to fit, make sure it's as even as you possibly can make it. And then we're gonna go ahead and sew that up again, kind of stretching as you go so that we get that cinched effect. And our last step is to basically do the exact same thing with the waistband, except we have 2 side seams on this, so we're gonna sew those up first, and then we're gonna do the same thing where we fold it in half and pin it to the bottom hem. This one you do kind of have to mark a few more spots to make sure it's even all the way around, just because it's a bigger piece to work with, but try to space it out as evenly as possible. And again, we're gonna be stretching to fit it all around as we sew.
So that is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, if you do make this pattern, let me know how it went. Send me pictures. I would love to see it. I think it's a nice simple pattern for a beginner, or also just for someone who wants a comfy crew neck, because like I said, I wear mine all the time. I think it's so comfy. Let me know what other patterns you'd want to see this year. I am trying to get more into it. It just takes so much time. So I want to make sure I'm like making stuff that you guys do actually want to see, because so much goes into it. But let me know down below or DM me on Instagram. I try my best to respond to everybody as much as I can. And that is it for today's video. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!